Elections are never just about who wins or who loses. They're about something much deeper. They're an engineering problem. Today we're going to dissect one such problem in the Tizit constituency of Nagaland. We're looking at a single seat, a single community, and one very big number, a 7,000 vote deficit. Our job isn't to pick sides, it's to understand the anatomy of a mandate and to see if data can build a bridge back to the people.
So first, let's understand the soil we're standing on. This is the Mon district, deep in eastern Nagaland. It's the home of the Konyak Naga people. And you have to understand, this isn't just a location on a map. This is a place where identity is carved into the land itself. The rhythms of life here, they aren't set by clocks in an office. They're set by the coming of the monsoon, the harvest, and the call of the church bell on a Sunday morning. Politics here isn't abstract, it's personal.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll dig into the ground realities, the soil and the mandate. Then we'll face that 7,000 vote mountain and the stark numbers behind it. We'll perform a forensic analysis of a political decline, and then listen to the most important voice of all, the voters. Finally, we'll lay out a very concrete blueprint for governance. It's a journey from the people to the data and right back to the people again.
Now, before we look at a single piece of polling data, we have to understand the people. Because in politics, the numbers are useless unless you understand the human stories they represent. So, who are the people of Tizit? What keeps them up at night?
Life here, it really stands on three core pillars. First, there's this incredibly strong sense of Konyak Naga identity. Second, it's an economy that runs on the hard work of subsistence farming. And third, there's the profound influence of the Christian faith. Now, imagine this society, so rooted in tradition, facing the twin pressures of the annual monsoon and the relentless push of modernization. It creates friction, a gap between old promises and new aspirations.
And this is where that friction sparks into a real fire. Almost 27% youth unemployment. Let that sink in. This isn't just a number on a spreadsheet. This is a story repeated in thousands of homes. It's the story of a generation's hopes being put on hold. It fuels anger. It pushes young people to leave their homes. And it creates this huge disconnect between the youth and the entire political system.
And on top of these slow-burning issues, you have acute crises. In 2023, a massive dengue outbreak tore through the district. An event like this, well, it stops being a news story and becomes a deeply personal test of the system. It's when you find out if the local clinic has medicine, if the roads are good enough for an ambulance. It exposes every single crack in the system. And people do not forget.
Okay, so we have a feel for the place, for the people, for the pressures. Now let's turn to the numbers. Because the 2023 election presented one party with, well, there's no other way to put it, a mountain to climb.
The winner, a candidate from the BJP aligned with the NDA, pulled in nearly 53% of the vote. That is a dominant performance, more than every other voter combined. It's a clear, decisive mandate that sets an incredibly high bar for anyone trying to challenge it.
And in stark contrast, the Naga People's Front, or NPF, got just over 17%. Just look at the scale of that difference. This isn't a close call, it's a political chasm.
And this brings us to the core of the problem, boiled down to a single, brutal number. 7,054. That's the deficit. That's the size of the mountain. That's how many hearts and minds the NPF has to win back, one by one. The question is, where do you even start?
This whole dashboard tells the story, but I want you to focus on that second line. Voter turnout, over 95%. This is absolutely critical. The problem for the NPF is not apathy. People are not staying home. They are marching to the polling booths in huge numbers. They are engaged, they are passionate, and they are actively choosing someone else. The people are speaking loud and clear.
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? A turnout rate like that, it's a roar. This is a community demanding to be taken seriously. And when a community speaks this clearly, it's a reminder of our core constitutional values. It's about respecting the dignity of every single voter and the responsibility that comes with engaging in public discourse. The challenge isn't to get people to vote, it's to give them a reason to vote for you.
So, how did the NPF find itself at the bottom of this mountain? A gap this large doesn't just appear overnight. To understand it, we need to look back. We need to do a forensic analysis of what went wrong.
This timeline is the entire story in 5 data points. Look at this. The NPF was at its peak in 2003, with nearly 40% of the vote. Then a slow bleed begins, a steady erosion. Until 2018, a complete collapse, down to just over 6%.
The 2023 results show some recovery, sure, but it's a recovery from a near-death experience. This isn't one bad election, it's a pattern of systemic failure.
So what caused the collapse? Well, it was a war on two fronts. Internally, the party was decaying from the inside out. Morale was low, funding dried up, and the local organization, the grassroots network, was basically asleep. And at the same time, externally, they faced a political juggernaut. The NDA had the power of incumbency, a massive advantage in resources, and a dominant ground game. It was, frankly, a perfect storm.
All right, enough about party machinery. Let's get back to the people, because none of this political strategy matters if it doesn't connect to the realities of daily life. What are the voters in Tizit actually saying? What are their biggest problems?
When you go out and you listen, the answers are simple and they are powerful. Number one, by a huge margin, is jobs, unemployment. Number two is healthcare. And number three is basic infrastructure. Roads. It always comes down to the basics. A decent job, a doctor when you're sick, and a reliable road to get there. It's about dignity.
And behind these concerns are hard, painful numbers. Almost 1 in 3 young people without a job. Nearly 1,000 cases of dengue in a single outbreak, which tells you the healthcare system was overwhelmed. And rural roads that simply disappear during the monsoon, cutting people off. The key here is that these aren't vague complaints. They are specific, they are measurable, and they are deeply personal.
So, we've diagnosed the problem. Now, what's the solution? This is where we move from analysis to action. We're going to look at a structured, data-driven blueprint for a comeback. It's called the Four-Faced Doctrine.
The Chatumukha Doctrine. The name itself is about creation, about rebirth. It's a framework for rebuilding a political organization from scratch. The core idea is simple. You can't just fix one thing. You have to rebuild everything, all at once, in a coordinated way. Your electoral strategy, your organization, your story, and your resources.
So here are the 4 pillars. 1. Electoral. Get hyper-local. Forget the big rallies for a moment. Focus on village by village, door by door. 2. Organization. Rebuild the party from the ground up. Find and train a new generation of young leaders who are hungry for change. 3. Narrative. Create a simple, powerful story that cuts through all the noise. A message about local development, local jobs, and local pride. And 4. Resources. Be smart with your money. Focus on high-impact spending that actually connects you with voters.
So, we've journeyed from the soil of Tizit through the cold, hard data and into a strategic blueprint. The final step is to translate all of this theory into a real path forward, a path that turns data into destiny.
Now let's be absolutely clear. This is not a magic wand. The climb up that 7,000 vote mountain is incredibly steep. It requires iron discipline and flawless execution over a 90-day period. There are no shortcuts to rebuilding an organization. And most importantly, there are no shortcuts to earning back trust. Earning back that trust means handling people's hopes with care. It also means handling their data with respect. In today's India, that's about consent and privacy, making sure every single interaction is built on a foundation of transparency.
And this leaves us with the final, crucial question. Is it possible for a political party to engineer its own rebirth? Not by making bigger, louder promises, but by fundamentally changing its approach. By treating governance itself as an engineering project, meticulously designed to solve real problems for real people. That is the ultimate test. If you want to become a people-centric leader and uplift your constituency, get in touch with blueprintstrategies.ai at mgr@blueprintstrategies.ai or call 080-420-41602. Purpose beyond politics.